social media is becoming the new parent for most of the children these days.
And the problem is, in this conflict, in this confusion, the child is one who suffers the most. It's your child, but it's not yours to control. They are going to have their own life journey, their own life story, their own experiences. A lot of parents come to me saying, if my child won't study, he will fail, she'll fail, and I can't take it. If your child has to fail, let them. In our Indian society, sacrifice is glorified for women. Sacrifice your own needs, sacrifice your hobbies, sacrifice everything, to support your family and children. That is why they cling so badly to their kids. They don't want their children to leave because they feel, if my child goes away, what will I do?
Mothers physically abuse their children more than the fathers.
If your child is yelling, it's only mimicking what you do.
What is the worst ideology that you've seen parents impose on their children? Why does a mother want to impose her trauma on the child? Like, where does it really stem from? Welcome Urvashi to our show. You are like the first parenting coach and somebody from this parenting industry who's come on our show. So very excited to talk to you today. So this art of parenting is becoming more prominent than it ever was before because the roles are changing and women want to be more at the forefront of their career while also managing their homes. So, I want to divide this interview, this whole episode into different sections. I want to first start with the parents, because that's where it all starts from. Like, what do you think is the most common mistakes that you've seen personally in your journey that parents are making in today's times?
Well, first of all, I'm really glad that you've decided to take this up as a topic of discussion, because you're absolutely right when you say that today the art of parenting and the knowledge of parenting correctly through this digital age, where even social media can be a parent of sorts to your child, influencing your child in ways. For you to be their center, their anchor, and their true guide, you will have to make an effort today, as a parent. And the one common mistake that I see parents make today is not being on the same page. First, moms have their own ideologies that how a child should be raised. Dads have their own set of thoughts. Grandparents have their own set of thoughts. And I rarely see that all of them are on the same page when it comes to raising a child. And the problem is, in this conflict, in this confusion, the child is one who suffers the most, right? Because then it's not about giving the right values and the right upbringing to your child. It's more about whose method is right and whose method is not, and parents entering into unnecessary conflicts, and the child seeing that, and the child saying, chodo, I'll find my own way, and seeking out other sources of feeling safe and secure emotionally and comfortable. So the first thing I tell parents is, if you want to raise your child correctly, you need to come on the same page. Show unity in front of your child, and then anything you would like to imply or any value you would like to give forth, it's easier for the child to absorb it.
Yeah, but in your experience, what is the worst ideology that you've seen parents impose on their children?
तो ये ideology की बात नहीं है राधिका. ये एक phenomenon है which I have observed as a child psychologist, and it is called, and it's given a name in psychology, it's called intergenerational trauma transmission. Sounds really complex, but it's actually a very simple, phenomenon that we see. And that is the way we have been raised by our parents, the way they reacted on what we did on a daily basis, we take those same set of reactions, same set of behaviors, and start behaving exactly like our parents with our children. For example, when a lot of people have a lot of grudges that my parents never understood me. They didn't take the effort. They only wanted things their way, And why? Because say you say something or your mom was in a habit that aapne kuch bol diya and she instantly snaps. She gets irritable, she doesn't listen to you. She just wants you to keep doing what you're doing without bothering her. Somewhere you take those behaviors, and when you become a mom, you will see that you too are very impatient as a mom. You also snap at small things. You can't be calm. You can't be patient. And why is that happening? It's not because of an ideology that you have consciously imbibed. It's because of how you have seen your generation of parents behave. You are going to behave in the same way. For example, there was a child who came to me, and she was a very nice girl. She wanted to explore. She wanted to try out different careers. But her mom was just very rigid. She wanted her to become a doctor.
Okay.
Right? And the girl kept saying that, I want to try baking, I'm interested in cooking. The mother just couldn't let go. It's just because, and then when I explored with the mom, it was all about how she was led to believe that only certain handful or bunch of professions hold value, have prestige, and mean something.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not about one ideology, but it's about breaking through whatever you have been raised with and trying to see this new generation with a different lens.
Yeah.
That is what is required.
Yeah, that actually reminds me of a study that I was going through where it was saying that 72% of moms in a family setup are depressed because they just are told that, you're not a great parent. Why is your child not in your control? And on this control part, I want to ask you as to why do parents want to control their kids in the first place? What is this urge to, have this sense that, okay, they need to do things in a certain way I tell them? Why can't they let their children have that freedom of thought, of action, as we see more prominently happen in USA otherwise?
So this is a very, household phenomenon. It's not something that we are seeing today. Every parent wants the child to grow as per their experiences and their knowledge. And when this becomes a little toxic, this thing in psychology is called emotional enmeshment, right? Where you use your loving nature and emotionality as a parent to control your child. Because you feel, and where control then gets disguised as something as this is good for you. You're telling your child this is good for you, do it this way, I know it better, but actually it comes from a place of extreme need to control everything in your child's life. And this also comes from generational trauma or upbringing. This is the way how their parents may have been. But when I talk to so many parents, this is more coming from a very protective instinct, a very big deep-rooted fear that I never want to go wrong as a parent. So all the experiences I have, all the learning I have, I should put it on to my child and they should listen to me because that is the best way they'll be safeguarded. And we have forgotten that that's a different human being. It's a different individual. It's your child, but it's not yours to control. They are going to have their own life journey, their own life story, their own experiences. And all we need to do as parents is give them the correct guidance, but let them explore. That's what I keep telling parents, that, a lot of parents come to me saying, if my child won't study, he will fail, she'll fail, and I can't take it. And I keep telling my child, study, 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 and my child doesn't listen. And when I say to the child is like, I'm fed up, I'm doing my best, right? And that's when I tell parents, what, if your child has to fail, let them. Because once they fail, Life is the biggest teacher. They'll understand what it is to fail, what is to have a failed career, what it is to have a failed relationship, what it is to have some failures in life. It's okay.
Yeah.
You don't have to control everything and make sure your child is on the right path. In fact, that's really toxic. And that adds too much pressure on your child, and your child actually becomes counterproductive and gives up and says, you know
Yeah,
what, mom,
true.
you know what, dad, I don't want to do anything. I give up. Right?
Yeah.
So that's the result of trying to control too much.
I've
Not
seen
a
that
good
happen
thing.
personally also, you know.
Yes, it happens.
Where there were cases of somebody trying to tell me that, you know, you have to do this in a certain way only, and I couldn't do it, you know. Not because I didn't have the willingness, but वो ability नहीं थी. And you know,
Yeah.
the more I was told, the more I just felt like not doing it at all, instead of putting myself through it or pushing through. But the
Isn't it?
moment they said that, okay, do it at your own pace, it's okay, take your own time, but figure out this is the goal, you choose the path now. So that's when I was like, okay, theek hai, I have this freedom, I will look for a way and I'll do it.
And didn't that in turn make you more responsible
Yeah.
and accountable?
Definitely.
And that's what parents need to realize, that when we leave children to their own, they start developing everything that you want them to develop.
Yeah.
That sense of responsibility, accountability, they start thinking, they start developing critical thinking skills that, okay, now I need to succeed in this, I'm here. Even if you fail, I'm here. Even if you do your worst, I'm here. And that actually is reverse psychology, where the child then feels, oh my God, my parent has so much faith in me.
Yeah.
Let me try and do my best.
True, you know.
है ना?
In the US, people send their children out of their houses at the age of 18 only, and they're like,
18.
okay, go lead your life.
Yeah.
And no wonder why they have so much of strong individuality in their characters, and they're like more loving towards their parents than otherwise people
Yeah.
who just live with their parents for the sake of it and have fights internally. So why do you think in India this still is considered as a bad thing to send away your kids, you know? Why do they have to control in this part also कि नहीं मेरे बच्चे तो मेरे साथ ही रहने चाहिए?
Actually, I wouldn't say कि ये एक controlling need है. I would attribute this to a very community kind of upbringing. See, when we look at European countries, or when we look at the West, whether it's USA or whichever country we may look to, they have a very individualistic society. And that's how their society is, which also comes with a lot of negatives. Where then people are alone, they don't have anybody to talk to, they have a lot of emotional issues, depression, anxiety. You know, everything that glitters is not gold.
Yeah.
The benefit of children staying with their parents a little bit longer is also there. But we need to, like you rightly said, be aware is that if our children are staying with us, after a certain age, we let them go. You know, we let them be. You know, even if it's mistakes, it's their mistakes. And I always tell parents that it is going to be the tough time your child faces that is going to define their character and personality, and not all the amazing achievements they have.
Yeah.
Because when you're achieving, everything is fine. Today, everything's become like a performance-based childhood and achievement-oriented childhood. Child is fine, and the minute the child fails or even gets few marks less or comes second place, the child is extremely depressed. Child is anxious. So your goal is not to make your child achieve, but your goal is to make sure that you're also allowing your child to experience negative situations where you are just an observer.
Yeah.
You are just a support system. Because those are the times, Radhika, that will make your child build their character. Because life is not going to always present pleasantries to them on a plate.
Yeah.
Life is going to give them curveballs and googlies and highs and lows, and today you're fired, today you broke up, and maybe today you have a bad marriage, or today things are not working out. And in those times, have you given your child that kind of, you know, confidence in your upbringing that your child says, you know what, this is just another bad phase of my life. I will pass through it. So many so many children today I see are crumbling under simplest of pressures, right? But coming back to what you said, why do Indian parents still want children to stay with them? Is somewhere I feel lot of Indian parents have not built their own happy space, which is away from their child. That even when the child leaves, leaving the nest kind of syndrome, lot of mothers feel that if my child goes away to an abroad university or goes away abroad for a job, what will I do? मेरा अस्तित्व क्या रह जाएगा? What is my identity? What am I going to do? And this is very real. There are so many mothers I counsel who don't want their child to go to abroad universities because they feel if my child goes away, who am I anymore? What is my work anymore?
Is that a selfish need that they think?
It's an unfortunate situation in our country where women do not give attention to their self-growth, self-love, self-needs, their personal hobbies. In our Indian society, sacrifice is glorified for women. Sacrifice your own needs, sacrifice your hobbies, sacrifice everything, to support your family and children. And one day, when children want to have their own, mothers don't know what to do, and that is why they cling so badly to their kids. They don't want their children to leave because they feel, if my child goes away, what will I do? Right? Even the simplest of things, like when I have traveled abroad, I have seen 80-year-old couples carrying their own bags, traveling, because they have given simple attention to fitness during their journey. Even, you see kids, foreigners with 3 kids, 4 kids, but still fit, still active. They give value to things which are going to enrich their lives even in the future. यहाँ पे I feel mothers especially don't give value to fitness, don't give value to self-growth, self-learning, contributing in society in some way or the other. Small, even if you do part-time something, do it, but don't let go. Because these are the things that will come of use to you tomorrow when your child wants to leave the nest and explore this world. Right?
So it's more like societal driven.
It's very societal driven. Today it's like, oh, this lady left her job. She left everything. She sacrificed everything to raise her kids. Clap. Oh, this lady is working. She doesn't have time for her child as much as we think she should. Oh, boo to her. Right? So many stigmas and so many societal unsaid things women have to adhere to, and that molds them into this very clingy kind of mother, or not being able to let their child go.
I think with the new age, with the Gen Z becoming the parents in a few years, all of this will change, because like the Gen Z characteristics are completely different from what the other generation has in terms of the control and the freedom that's required. But I've seen a lot of my friends where they always used to complain within their childhood that our parents yell a lot at us, and somehow they get satisfaction out of that yelling. And studies also show that mothers physically abuse their children more than the fathers. Why do you really think this is the case? Like, why does a mother want to impose her trauma on the child? Like, where does it really stem from? Because you've consulted so many parents and you come from a background in child psychology. I want to understand it from that psychological perspective as to what really makes a mother yell at her kid.
There are many reasons why a mother would do so. Some would say she wants to make sure the child is on the right track. Some would say that's her own personal impatience or inability to handle the situation. But again the answer comes to this being a very normalized phenomenon. If this mother has grown up in her household, seeing her mother, father, aunt yelling, and she, in spite of when she being a child being scared or unhappy about this, because she's seen it so often while growing up, it's normalized.
Huh.
And they don't realize when they feel, okay, this is a normal thing. And they start adapting those behaviors and bringing it to their parenting.
So what advice do you give to them when they come to you for this? That, you know, there is this intergenerational trauma that I'm having, which I cannot get out of. What do I do to change my behavior towards my child and make it more friendly and natural rather than coming from my set of experiences?
There's just one simple funda. You want to hear it? There's just one simple funda. And this is what I tell moms, dads, whoever come to me. Because when parents are coming to me, they are not coming to me about them being aware of this being an intergenerational trauma of the way of bringing up children. For them, they come with a set of complaints for the kids. My child is not listening, my child is arguing, my child is yelling, my child is shouting. So I have to do these things, right? And the only thing I tell them, Radhika, is that your child is not a child. When you go back home, look at your child as if it's a mirror. If your child is yelling, it's only mimicking what you do. If your child is showing signs of anxiety and panic, it's only what you do in situations.
Yeah.
Because children are born with a clean slate. And if they are showing some kind of behaviors like impatience, rebellion, yelling, back answering, somewhere it's because as a parent, you have shown these behaviors first. There are also some children who are very calm, who are very sorted, who are very smart. Why? It's because they have seen their parents behave that way in challenging situations. So I tell them, have there been situations in your family that they were challenging for you and this is how you reacted? Then this is how your child is reacting. And this is how I let them know that this is what generational trauma is. You are reacting unconsciously. You're being impatient in a situation. You're shouting. Maybe you're shouting at your husband. Maybe the way you and your husband communicate, you know, is in this fashion where you're just arguing, blaming and things like that. And without realizing your child is observing these things. And that's where you need to become aware. You need to become aware that it's not what you tell your child that they are going to behave like. It's how you behave, they are going to behave like. There is only one simple statement, monkey see, monkey do. Your child is just a brain with two eyes. They are observing your behavior. If you can be calm in the most challenging situation, if you can be a problem solver in the most challenging situation, if somebody is shouting at you and you can be calm and talk to them with respect, this is what your child will learn. Because we can't go after the parents saying, you have generational trauma, you need to do this. But this is what we can tell them. Whatever has happened with them has happened. But now they have a new responsibility. This life they've brought into this world is their responsibility. And we can't keep crying about, oh, what happened with us? My mom was like that, my dad was like this is how I have been raised. Right? Because if we keep doing that, we are going to take the same thing forward. We need to then think, whatever I am doing, my child is going to emulate. Right? And that makes parents think much more responsibly how they should be reacting in situations of argument. A lot of parents ask me that, you know, we argue a lot as a couple. Is that bad? Is that good? What do you think? Is it good or bad if couples argue a lot in front of their kids?
Of course it's bad, like you said, it's mirror effect, right? So the child will also be
so
automatically
it's not
driven.
bad.
No, it's not.
It's bad.
If it's in the form of yelling and all.
Yes, it's bad if after having a fight with your spouse, you both don't resolve it amicably.
Huh.
Because your child is going to have fights with people in the future, potential friends, potential partners. These are natural phenomenon.
Yeah.
But in your behavior, if you have never shown a conflict being resolved, how to resolve it, how to come to a common ground, your child will never learn those interpersonal skills.
Yeah.
So I tell parents it's not bad to fight in front of a child. Good, you must, because it's an unpleasant situation, but you're showing them how to resolve it by yourself, then resolving the situation in front of them, coming to a common ground, agreeing to disagree. You know, a lot of couples just fight and then, you know, take off, and then the child feels this is how it is.
Well,
And
like you said that, you know, children observe a lot
Yeah.
and then they're just like a brain with two eyes until they have understood consciously how to react
Yeah.
and act. But at what age a child's brain gets developed in a way that they can also decide for themselves and act accordingly?
So if you ask me biologically, our brains or a child's brain is developing till the age of 18. And that's where, you know, so many logical reasons why we call somebody an adult after the age of 18. Because somewhere biologically it's been proven that your brain is still developing and growing and building all those rich network of connections till that age. But if you ask me, what is the age when they can actually start deciding for themselves? It comes from a very young age. You know, they can start deciding for themselves at the age of 12, 13, you know, this is what I like, this is what I don't like. And that is the time they need rich experiences from their parents as a support system. Not like how you mentioned as a controlling behavior, because that's when you break their confidence.
Yeah, yeah.
That's when you make them feel that you can't decide for yourself. The decisions you're going to make are going to land you into big trouble. The decisions you make are going to get you to the worst places and never the places that are going to get you happiness. And if we are constantly feeding that in their mind, it's going to lead to a very underconfident child. So I would like to turn this around a bit and be like, it's not about at what age can your child make decisions. It's about you letting your child know or giving them the confidence that it's okay, you make the decision. Even if you make a mistake, it's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
So they get that risk-taking attitude. They start believing in themselves. They start building that confidence from a young age. It's okay. I will take these risks. I will take my decisions. It's okay to make mistakes. I will rise again. Right?
But you know, there is this a lot of people that I've also observed as to why some people are more successful than the others, and it all boils down to how their childhood was.
Yes.
You know, and people who have had a very obedient childhood, although it might look very rosy and fancy and nice on the surface, but those are the people who cannot really lead from the front, because people otherwise who have always had like rebellious actions and have always had a say of their own and that say has been respected, those people end up leading bigger firms and creating firms of their own. You know, so how do you as a parent draw a thin line of difference between the fact that are you raising an obedient child or a child confident enough who also can be on their own, you know? Even if they don't listen to you, it's completely fine, because as parents you might think that's wrong when the children are growing up.
Right.
But when they become an adult, that's where the difference is shown. That okay, if this person has always been related to the rules and have followed the rule book, I mean, they cannot really sustain in the life because they have to create their own rules also. So like, how do you really consult these parents who are confused about how to raise a child confidently?
If you want to raise a confident child today, you need that child to develop the ability to think for themselves. That is the bottom line first. If you're constantly going to think for your child, what is good for your child, what is not good for your child, what should they do, how they should do, when they should do, your child is going to always be dependent on you to be a decision maker. first step of underconfidence and being a follower. If you want to raise a confident child and you feel that your child is disobeying you, not listening to you, at that moment as a parent you may feel very upset and angry. But it's important in that time to, rather than use it as an opportunity to crush your child or impose yourself, you use it as an opportunity to have a beautiful discussion with your child, or turn this into a very bonding and positive experience with your child. For example, you want your child, say, go to bed by 9 p.m. A lot of parents have this rule, go to bed by 9 p.m. it's good for you. As the child grows up, 13, 14, 15, they start rebelling. Rather than trying to have a conflict, impose, break their confidence, tell them how good it is for them and just anyhow impose these things and then not leading anywhere, you can have a conversation with your child. Okay, if you don't want to sleep at 9, what time do you want to sleep? Why do you think that's better for you? Come on, let's do some research. You come and tell me, why do you think, okay, give me 5 reasons why sleeping at 10 o'clock would be better than sleeping at 9 o'clock, and how would it do you better? Let your child think. Let them come back with some solutions. Even if they are against you, tell them, okay, try this. And let us see if it's actually benefiting you or not. If it doesn't, we'll change the technique.
Yeah.
Right? So what happens is you're engaging in a very open-minded, unbiased way of communicating with your child, where the child is feeling, okay, my opinion and my research and my thoughts are mattering. You know what is the childhood of people who are leaders? Where since childhood their opinions were counted as equals in the family.
Yeah.
Whenever they sat in a family discussion, even if they were 10, 11, 12, their opinion mattered to the family. It was considered in the family. And what that led them to believe is, hey, my thoughts are important. My thoughts are valuable. My thoughts have some point in them. And that brings a lot of confidence in the child. है ना?
Yeah.
So the next time your child is disobeying, not listening, sit them down. Say, okay, आपको क्या करना है? चलो ठीक है, give me these reasons why you think this is better than what I am saying. चलो फिर करके देखते हैं. Give your child that opportunity.
Yeah, it also makes
Right?
them productively think and argue better. Not just like crib for things.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
And then, like I said, it makes them more responsible about the decisions they are making. They feel their thoughts are heard, they are valued, and parents are not being unreasonable just by being virtue of their parent.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's where the emotional gap starts to occur. Where the commonest thing I've heard children coming and telling me, or teenagers, is my parent just doesn't understand me. My parent only listens to me to give their advice and opinion. They are not actually listening to me. Right? So that's something you want to totally avoid as a parent, especially in this generation.
True, true. You know, I get reminded of an incident. While you said this, I was recently at a housewarming function of one of my friends, and he has a 4-year-old daughter. She was sitting right beside me, and her father came to sit like next to her. And then she's like, यहाँ पे मत बैठो, आप अपनी चेयर पे जाके वापस बैठो. And she was like very bold in saying that. And you'll be surprised what her father did. He is like, okay, if you say so, I'll sit there only. No worries. And then I was like, didn't you feel bad that she spoke to you like this? And he's like, of course I did, but I don't want to suppress her voice. At this age, if I tell her that this is not the way to speak, she'll never open up and speak in a bold voice. And if I do that with her here, if somebody does that to her next time, she'll not be able to speak for herself. So I don't want that quality to come into her, and that's why I let her do anything that she wants. And I was like, wow, this is so good. Like, if I was in place of him, I would have told that to my child, that what is this way of speaking. And that day I realized that no, parenting is so much more difficult than what looks very easy on the surface.
Yeah. And what you've just described to me, my big thumbs up to this dad. He's so mindful.
Yeah.
He's thinking about what will bring his daughter confidence in the future and what will not. Because she was not misbehaving. She was just being herself.
Correct.
And it's so important that we don't suppress children from being themselves in this need for overcorrection and what society would like them to be and trying to fit them in that mold.
Yeah.
That's really important.
Yeah. I mean, I've decided that until I mend my own stuff, I'm not going to become a parent personally. Because, like you said, parents, the way they are, they try to make their children also that way. So
Yes.
it's very important for anybody who's raising kids to first heal themselves and then become a parent. Don't you think so?
Yeah, a lot of parents have told me, why don't you start a parenting academy?
Yeah.
We'll definitely come to you.
I think it's much needed in today's time.
I think so.
But talk to me about your platform. I think it's more like an academy only that you're building now. Pro Parent, tell us about that, what it is, what's your vision?
Well, this project is really close to my heart.
Okay.
Because it actually stems from this space that we were just talking about. And more than that, let me tell you that today parents want to do the best for their child. They want to give their child everything. They want to know the ideal methods of dealing with their kids. Parents are working, they are staying in nuclear families, they have limited time, and they want to make best of it. Even if you're not in a nuclear family, you're in a joint family, you come with a different set of challenges, how to handle your parents. And today it's not only about family challenges, work-life balance challenges. It's also about this digital age where children are getting exposed to digital devices, social media, and so many other influences in their life that you want to make sure that your child is growing up happy, confident, and is not being subjected to unnecessary toxicity or negative experiences which come along with this dynamic generational shift like cyberbullying and confidence breaking and low self-esteem and constant comparison with reels and children having very warped ideas of what life should be, how much money you need to be happy. There is so much going on. And in all of this, what I observed is that parents are being left behind and children are quickly moving away, and there is a very stark generational gap. Children don't want to listen to parents, parents don't know how to make themselves heard, how to put their genuine concern to kids, how to help them, how to guide them. And that's when I felt, that there has to be a place where parents can go and seek the right information for any challenge they face in today's day and age during their parenting journey. It could be a simple thing like my child doesn't want to give away their phone, my child doesn't want to study, my child doesn't want to sleep on time, my child is not listening to me, my child is constantly arguing, rebelling. And one small move, wrong move on a parent's part can actually make things worse. And that made me think, who's guiding parents today? Who's helping them out? Who can talk to them? The only people who are around is maybe their own friends or peers who are struggling with the same issue, blind leading the blind, or asking your parents or elders that how they manage these situations, but completely wrong area to ask because they've never faced these situations. Teachers, educators themselves are dealing with these issues. So where does a parent go and find these solutions to their daily issues they may face or where they may want to improve or help their child improve? So we have created this platform called Pro Parent, where I collaborated with 40 international experts to curate practical, applicable content which is covering every area of a child, especially teenagers, where there is no support or help at all for parents. That how do we deal with everything that is happening in our teenagers' life as a parent correctly, whether it is talking to them about dating, relationships, about their social media, behavior, whether it's about their friendships, whether it's about getting bullied, low self-esteem, achieving academic excellence. If you are a parent and you come to ProParent and our platform, you will find a solution to whatever doubt and concern you may have in your mind. And you know why this platform is so beautiful to me? Because I thought that as an expert, we have 100 things to say, but will it actually work? So the solution was, we got real teenagers and children to review all these strategies, review these solutions, review all this content, and give us their feedback of how to make it very relevant, that yes, if my parent were to come and talk to me like this or deal with this situation like this, I would actually listen. So this space, everything, every solution you get on this space is not just curated by international experts who are child experts and psychologists and educators and teachers and doctors, but it's also been verified by actual teenagers. Whether these strategies, solutions, information will work with them, and they'll appreciate their parents for understanding them in this way.
Yeah.
And the motto of this platform is that parents can be in sync with today's time, today's knowledge, today's expectations of this Gen Z, Gen Alpha, whichever age group of child they are raising, and decrease this generation gap and build a stronger bond with your child. Because as a mother, I feel the single most important goal to seek your advice time and again, be there for you, looking forward that you spend time with them. All this happens when you have done your job correctly when they are younger. And you will bear the fruits of that once your children become big and then want to share this positive relationship with you. So ProParent is all about making you that ProParent who is like this strong anchor in your child's journey, in your child's life, so that when they become adults, they respect you more, love you more, and are looking forward to spending time with you as a companion, as a partner, as an equal, not just because you are their parent or somebody who gave birth to them.
Yeah, just like how Times of India is, your platform is like Times of Parents, Times of Parenting.
Yes.
I think it's that daily news platform where you get all things about parenting on a daily basis.
Absolutely.
And an insider view of what's happening where in real time.
Yeah, because I'll give you a very simple example, Radhika. Parents को लग रहा है कि हमें बच्चों को स्टडीज़ में गाइड करना है, उनका टाइम मैनेजमेंट करना है, ओके आज उनका स्क्रीन टाइम कम करना है, ये सब हमें करना है, बच्चे को अच्छे कॉलेज में वी हैव टू एंश्योर दैट दे गो इनटू अ गुड करियर. But today that's not enough. The problem areas are not those. You have not upgraded your knowledge as a parent. That today social media has completely consumed your child. How they think about themselves, how they think their partner should be, what they think, what is good, what is not good. How this whole dating scenario has changed in teenagers, where they are seeking intimate relationships on social media platforms. If you're only going to talk to them about study, career, getting things done on time, it's a very half-hearted approach.
Yeah.
Because you're only focusing on academic progress. And you feel, okay, because you're unaware that what are the latest trends of making friendship, of dating, of feeling good about yourself, of developing self-esteem. If you've not updated yourself as a parent, your child is going to have a major downfall in these emotional, social, learning, interpersonal skills.
Yeah.
So maybe you're parenting them for a world that doesn't exist in the future. You're parenting them only in terms of career and study and getting things done on time, and as long as that is done, you are a good parent, and as long as your child has obeyed you in front of five people, you're a good parent. But have you actually What is, to me, parent means guide. Guide not only in academic areas, but guide
On
in
life.
also in life. And if you don't know what is today's teenager's life, you're going to completely miss the boat as a
Yeah,
parent.
true.
And you're going to say, I wish I knew these things, I would have guided them, or I would have given some advice, and I could have saved my child from so many unnecessary emotional issues they are going through.
Yeah. Did you personally go through any challenge in parenting which made you launch this platform with stronger conviction?
To be honest, not because my daughter is my daughter, but I am blessed. Personally, I haven't faced any challenge bringing up my child. Maybe you could say I knew what to do and what not to do. But trust me, Radhika, I'm seeing so much struggle around me. Mothers who are of my age, older than me, parents of teenagers, educators, I am dealing with them every day. You know, and I am seeing, I am a witness to how much the scenario is getting challenging by the day. Like I said, children don't want to listen. There is a alarming increase in the feeling of disconnection between parent and child. Children prefer to follow influencers and how life should be lived. They don't want to listen to parents anymore. Parents want them to study, build a career. Children are stuck to phones. Even from a younger age, parents want children to do certain things. Children throw tantrums. Parents don't know how to handle them. We as parents have become impatient. We are trying to, look for shortcut methods of fixing things so that we can also move on with our lives. And I'm seeing a lot of this imbalance around me.
Yeah.
And it's not just the child who becomes the ultimate sufferer, but it's also the parents.
Of course. yeah.
Because I can see they are being filled with regret, with second guessing themselves. Am I doing this right? Am I not doing this right? What should I do better? What should I not do better? Oh, I should have known this. I should have known that. And I feel it's truly the need of the hour.
Yeah.
It's truly the need of the hour that parents get the right support.
What solutions have you personally given to parents as a child psychologist when they come to you and ask you about this feeling of disconnection that children are having with them? I think that's a very important point that you spoke about. Personally, I also sometimes feel quite disconnected to my parents, and I do feel bad about it. But I just don't know how do I establish that connection back. And what is it that you tell both the grown-up adult who's feeling disconnected and the parent? What can be the ways of getting back together at that same love wavelength?
You must have seen a very common reel which goes viral every time I see it, and no matter who does it.
Which one?
And that's, no matter when you reconnect with a good friend, you start off from where you stopped.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
True.
Haven't we seen that with true friends and with real friends, you don't need to make an effort. Even if you have a long gap between you talking or meeting or whatever, the day you meet again, even after 10 years, it's that beautiful connection once again.
Yeah.
So if parents want to really, really stop the disconnection with their children, there is only one way.
Be friends.
No, it's
More
not
than
just
parents.
about being friends. It's more about not losing the fun of the process. The problem is that parents feel that they have to be in a teacher or a advice giver role, and children have to be somebody who's listening,
Following.
adhering, following, obeying.
Reverse
And
mentoring should happen.
Yeah. And in this process, we as parents forget to have fun with our child.
Yeah.
If you were a child, it is my guarantee, if you were a child who grew up in a family where parents had so much fun with you, you enjoyed with them, you will never face a disconnect with them.
Yeah.
You will hang on to your parents for everything. Like, and I am a living proof of that. My parents, my dad, my mom, till today, we just joke about things, we laugh about things. Even in the most serious situations, you know, we have the, I know I have them, that they will make things lighter for me. People used to be in shock and awe that I would go and share everything with my mother and father. Even from the person I'm dating to whatever blunders I've made in my life, you know, because kids are going to make blunders. But when do we give them that opportunity to stay connected to us is when they feel that they are not going to be judged, one. And the most important thing, this everybody says, oh, don't judge your kids, don't judge your kids. But to me, as a child psychologist who has been a child myself, who has seen parents, who is seeing things around, is that parents have forgotten to have fun and just enjoy with their kids without agenda. Just talk to your kids, laugh, be silly, crack jokes, no need to have a serious environment all the time. And when you create this very happy and positive environment, and only parents can create this. Children just respond. It is our responsibility as a parent. When we create this beautiful atmosphere at home, the child feels so connected and happy. Why do we feel connected to our parents, friends? People say, be a friend, be a friend. What does that even mean? That simply means that you have had mindless laughs with your friends. Even in the worst situations, they've not judged you. They've laughed and you'll have laughed together. No, they've never tried to be like, if you do this, this will go wrong. If you do this. It's always, the atmosphere has been light when you're with your friends. And it has been proven by psychology, medical science, any form or, avenue of study, that when you can laugh with someone, the level of oxytocin which is released in your brain is so strong that very strong bonding happens. And if you can laugh with your child, enjoy with your child, like I said, agenda-free fun with your child, such a strong bond will be created.
Yeah, I think, on your platform, you should have a master class on comedy for parents.
Yeah.
All of them should become stand-up comedians for their children. They'll have super fun.
Yeah, and take things lightly, joke about it, laugh about it. Because that's when your child will really deeply connect with you and won't seek this connection. When parents come to me that my child is addicted to social media or gaming, I'm saying they are not addicted to social media or gaming. They are addicted to the connection that device is giving them, that sense of connection.
Yeah.
But if you want your child to get off social media, the way is not to tell them stop your phone, stop your device. The way is to replace that connection with the connection you can give. And you as a parent today will have to make that extra effort. You cannot say, "Arey, my mom never bothered to do that, my dad never bothered to do that." But your parents did not face this kind of digitization era where there is so many other things pulling your child and getting your child hooked and connected. You will have to, as a parent, go back to the roots. See, why are they getting connected to? What is the reason they are getting connected to that device? It's because they are having fun. So can you become that replacement? Can you become the parent with whom they are having fun? Then they will easily drop it.
Yeah.
They look forward to spending time with you. They'll be connected to you not today but for a lifetime, to answer your question.
Got it.
It's so important.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And since you've mentioned about your platform, Pro Parent, I'm also very curious to know as to what's the revenue model that you are looking after to grow this, since we also talk about a business aspect of people who come on the show. I want to double dive into this and ask you about what's the commercial landscape of the platform and how you're planning to monetize it going forward. I know it's very purpose driven, but of
Yes.
course, to run any business, you need capital as well.
Absolutely. What I would like to call my business is more of a social business. We are out on a very important social mission, bring about a social change, a revolution of sorts. It's a big ambition that I hold in my heart. But you're right, at the end of the day, you also have to be self sustained. We also have a very beautiful team who's working with us, who need to get paid at the end of the day. And there is a lot of scope here, as I feel there is a complete gap in the market. Like I said, parents are seeking the right advice, educators are seeking the right advice. There is a lot of struggle when it comes to a parent-child relationship today, no matter what aspect. And everybody doesn't want counseling. Everybody doesn't want to go to a counselor for छोटी छोटी बातें कि आज मेरे बच्चे ने ठीक से खाना नहीं खाया, या आज टाइम पे नहीं सोया, या आज मेरी हस्बैंड के साथ फाइट हो गई, उसमें मेरे बच्चे को अफेक्ट हो गया. Not everybody wants to run to a counselor for this. People need somewhere where they can go, where they have these simple solutions. Oh, this happened today. Oh, maybe there is a solution for it, and I can just look it up. I don't need to go to a counselor or take therapy for this.
Yeah.
Per se, right? And that is why having a platform like this, which is subscription based, where there are child or teen experts who are there present 24/7, ready to talk to you on a live domain, where you can just log on to, log in or sign up and ask a question and you have an answer for it in minutes. Who wouldn't like that,
Yeah.
right? And I think it is the need of the hour.
Have you thought about the subscription fee also yet, or is that in process?
It's still in process. Very soon we are going to launch this platform, which we call as Pro Parent. And it'll be an annual subscription model, and it'll be an end-to-end hand-holding kind of scenario, from you coming there as a parent seeking solutions and not just getting gyan, but also getting access to simple activities that can bring about those changes. That simple guidance that, do this activity every day with your child for 5 minutes, or do this activity on yourself every day for 5 minutes, whether it's your own stress reduction, anxiety reduction, or if you feel your child has low self-esteem or anxiety or doesn't want to study, how to motivate your child.
Yeah.
Do this activity for 5 days, for 5 minutes a day with your child. All these have been verified by teenagers themselves that yes, we would love to do them if our parents did, suggest them to us. And it becomes like a win-win situation for the parent. They don't any more have to go and seek outdated, random, blind, leading the blind kind of advice from anybody.
Yeah.
And
Which are some of the global platforms like Pro Parent which people are generally using?
None so far.
None?
You can say we are a pioneer of sorts.
Okay.
Hence facing our own challenges of how to get this out there correct. Otherwise it's very simple. You see something that is already out there and you
follow.
emulate it and you follow and you're all sorted. But definitely, personally, it's been a very challenging but very rewarding experience for me. Starting this, being one of the forerunners to think about this need gap situation and trying to fill it up. It's quite a daunting
Yeah, it can be.
effort.
That's where your team helps you and gives you that power again that, yeah, you're on the right path.
Absolutely. And hopefully, this is something that I foresee is not just another company that is launching a product or a service, but it's going to be something which transforms people's lives, relationships. It transforms people not only out of their own childhood traumas, but it also empowers them to guide their children correctly in today's day and age.
Yeah.
And I think this is the need of the hour. And that's where I have this firm belief that this model is going to do extremely well because it's going to make a real difference where it's going to matter for people
True.
and their families.
Yeah,
for
I'm
years
very
to
much
come.
looking forward to the launch and have
Thank
so
you.
many ideas to exchange with you also, which I'll do off the camera.
You should.
So that people are surprised when we do it and then we cover it again.
yeah. I'm glad I came here because I need as much as support
Yeah,
from
definitely.
young people like you, and that's who we're trying to again make a difference to. And every suggestion that comes from you will be really, really appreciated by us. Really,
Yes,
it will
we'll
be.
do that. And also, before we started the show, your team members were saying that you were a part of DID, and
This clearly
Yeah.
isn't a part of the
And,
podcast.
and some of your friends have also told me about how your journey has been so interesting. You've tried so many other things before you decided to choose this path of parenting and leading that ahead in your life. So tell us a little bit about what all have you done in your life so far, because that's very interesting for people also to hear that no matter how many things you're trying, eventually you'll find your meaning and purpose in one thing in life and take that ahead. And
Absolutely.
in the meantime, you enjoy the journey, you enjoy the process, so it's a big
Yes.
learning. So if you tell me about how you started after graduation, what all have you done, and the experiences you had with it.
Nobody's ever asked me this question before.
It's good that we're the first one.
It is very good, but it's really got me thinking now.
Acha.
And me reflecting back on my journey.
Huh.
But I must tell you, yes, I was always an achiever at heart since childhood. So whether it's excelling in academics, I was a merit list student, and for my psychology graduation, I've received the National Merit Scholarship from the Government of India for excellence in academics. Despite of all of this, I've always also been a very creative person at heart, learning music, learning dance, and there was one thing about me, that whenever I did something, I did it with all my heart, with 200% effort. If I really wanted to do it, that is. And my parents never put any kind of pressure on me that you have to do this or you have to do that. And that's where my experience comes from, that when it's left to you, then you become more responsible. And a lot of my friends say, यार तूने तो कुछ normal level का किया ही नहीं है, सब कुछ national level का ही किया है. Because even when I got into dance, at that time I became the national Latin ballroom champion of India, which
Oh my
has dances
God.
like salsa and samba, jive.
Wow.
When I reached the top 10
Acha.
finalists as well.
Really?
Yeah,
So you used to
really.
come on the TV?
But yeah, I'll tell you something, Radhika. All these experiences in my life taught me a lot. They taught me how to stand strong in the face of challenges. My father was very strictly against me participating in this competition.
Why?
Because he felt I should be more towards, I have the potential. All my professors and everybody said I have the potential to become a doctor, which I'm of sorts now.
Yeah.
And they always felt that if I get into these creative arts, I'll lose my academic streak. Right? And my father was always weary of the film industry or this industry setting, because he has no know-how. He's a professional, he's a doctor himself. And sometimes you hear from extreme stories of what happens to girls in these situations and this and that. So he was always very scared and weary, because I'm the only child, I'm the apple of their eye, and me participating in such a contest, being in this new world which they are not aware of, they were weary. And obviously there are apprehensions, and but I'm glad, and this is for all the parents out there, he did not let his fear
Rub off on you.
Yes, rub off on me and dictate what I should be doing and what I should not be. But he gave me the right advice. He said that you need to be aware that XYZ things are possible in this new career domain. You have to be aware of these things. You have to make sure that you are conducting yourself in a particular manner. And they gave me all the advice I needed to carry myself gracefully in that situation, which I appreciated that they didn't impose. They told me that बेटा ये हो सकता है, आपको ये चीज़ों के बारे में सावधान रहना है, ये चीज़ें अच्छी है, ये चीज़ें not so अच्छी हैं. And I had that knowledge to guide me whenever I needed it.
And after DID, what did you do then?
DID was a very life-changing experience for me.
क्या हुआ उसमें life
Because I saw real struggle. I saw what real struggle looks like. Because I came from a very protective background and a very protected environment, and I saw how people come there to make their life. For me, it was just a competition, just something I'm trying out. But for people, it meant life, and between life and death, and make or break kind of a situation.
Yeah.
And how much effort people put into getting somewhere in their life, and what it was a very grueling and mentally challenging experience for me, because dance तो थोड़ा बहुत आता था, but वहाँ उस competition में रहना, उसके challenges face करना, it made me a very tough person. There were 100 times I felt like giving up. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. I can't take it anymore. The pressures of performance, getting things done, things getting tougher by the day. I just felt I want to leave. And now, in so many situations of my life where I feel like giving up, those moments and how I withstood those challenges gives me that strength that no, you know what? You have the capability. You can keep going. And that's why I thank my parents that they didn't stop me. They let me experience this highly challenging situation, and it became one of the the best learning experiences of my life.
Yeah. So you didn't pursue dance after that?
I still dance. I dance every day.
Really?
But I dance for myself. I have my teacher. I dance with her. I enjoy dancing. It's my passion. But what I realized is that my calling is somewhere else. Dance is my passion. I will never let go of it. It helps me, keeps me fit, is my de-stressor, my meditation, my everything. But I also know that I have the ability to connect with people, to help them, to solve their problems, to understand children, understand parents, bridge their gaps, bring them to a common point. And I feel that is a much more higher calling. And yes, it will be very challenging. It's like a lot of people tell me that you will be facing so many negative such negativity, not negativity, but a lot of people coming to you with their problems every day, and it's not easy to hear problems or things not working out, and you giving so much of your time and energy to solve them.
But DID made you ready for it. You've already seen so many problems.
In some way, yes, and it brought out that character in me.
Yeah.
And yes, that is also a part of me. And you never know what really happens. Because, it's according to a recent study by IIT alumni only in 2023, they said that only 6.5% of the graduates of IIT pursued their study further as a career. Rest, 93.5% of people ventured into different things. And it's such an interesting study, right?
Yeah.
That there could be so much to your personality. You could be excellent in academics. You could also be a great listener. You could also be a great swimmer or a blogger, or there's so much to a person's personality.
Yeah, exactly.
There's so much that you can achieve. And like you rightly said, all in your own time. I did DID when I was of a certain age. I'm doing this when I'm of a certain age. Our life is long.
Yeah.
And to keep it meaningful, interesting, challenging, growth oriented, we will figure our way out. We will find a way. Today, the teenagers are so anxious because they feel they need to figure everything out at that age.
Yeah, I've been told that. So many people,
Yeah.
the senior women who come up to me, I ask them, how did you do this? How did you do that? So they sense that urgency in my voice and they're like, what kind of rush are you in? Just calm down. You don't
Yeah.
have to achieve everything in this 1 year.
Yes.
Understand that these people or us also, we've taken years to get here. So
Isn't it?
you might, yeah, so they tell me that and they told me that kids of your generation want instantly everything to be done. And I was like, yeah, we don't have that patience level. But with time, I did realize that, it's only the patience which makes you reach somewhere in life. Otherwise, you can keep doing many things and keep having that haste. But you're only going to reach your potential halfway through. You're not going to reach it fully and,
Yeah.
create a name or a change in the society that you intend to.
Because everything takes its due time. And if you're going to be in a haste, and if you're going to be in a rush, you're just going to set yourself up for disappointment
Yeah,
and
yeah.
anxiety, because you're going to feel that, oh, I have to achieve XYZ things because that lady who's at 40, I was still talking to a friend of mine, her brother is 25.
Okay.
All right, and her husband is 40 and he's now the CEO of a company. And she was saying, I was explaining to my brother that don't compare yourself to your jija, because he's 40, he's taken his time, he's done certain things, and this position and wherever he is has come after a certain age, and it comes at the right time. And see how much this person has achieved. See, this person has a Ferrari at this age. See, this person owns a mansion at this age. This person is only roaming in business class at this age. This person is earning so much at this age. And constantly they are being fed with this kind of information where they feel not good enough anymore. And the only problem with this is you just become a very unhappy person.
Yeah.
In the moment with yourself.
What's the way out? What's the solution
The
to
only solution to this is do not compare yourself first. Yes, there are people who have landed on the moon also. There are people like Elon Musk, and then there are people like Jeff Bezos, and who have outperformed and achieved things in their life. Use them as inspiration and just try to be a better version of yourself. And at the end of the day, if you feel that you're not happy, then you're clearly doing something wrong. When you put in hard work, when you put in effort, when you make that effort towards something, shouldn't you be happy with yourself at the end of the day? So you need to become aware, and the only way out is to train your brain.
Yeah.
That if I'm making the right effort, if I'm doing the things that I need to do, not only for my career, but for my fitness, for my mental health, I'm living a holistic life, I should be proud of myself. If you don't train yourself to pat your own back, you are going to be a miserable person. Because you're constantly going to compare, you're constantly going to feel nothing is good enough. And trust me, nothing ever is ever going to be good enough. It is an art to find contentment in what you're doing, as long as you're ticking off the right things. You're waking up every day, you're not wasting your time, you're not whiling away, you're not throwing your future away. If you're a person who's working hard, doing the things they need to do, at the end of the day, see that list, pat yourself on the back. Because the only problem is, today, youngsters feel that only when you reach a certain goal, you can be happy or that will bring you happiness. They have lost the ability to find happiness in every step they are taking
Yeah, to reach
towards that goal. Because life is not just about achieving a bunch of goals. And if you're going to only be happy when that happens, you are setting yourself up for misery, because the day you reach the goal, you have trained your brain to be unhappy, and even achieving the goal will not give you the happiness.
True,
Isn't
true.
it?
Yeah, so true.
It's going
You know,
to be
I've read this thing that people who win Oscars generally, they come home crying because they're then like, this makes us feel very empty. We've always dreamt of being an
Yeah.
Oscar winner. And once we got that, we realized that, oh my God, I'm still not feeling happy.
Isn't it?
Why is this, you know?
because you've trained yourself every day, systematically trained your mind and your consciousness and your brain to feel unhappy every day with whatever you're doing. Right? It's a very simple example. You see people with all the money in the world, all the luxuries, and they're still unhappy.
Yeah.
And then there are some people who have limited means, and then you feel they are so happy, they are so relaxed, they are so contented. You know, and that is also a secret to longevity.
Yeah.
And you feel so jealous of such people. यार इनके पास कुछ नहीं है फिर भी कितने खुश हैं. Because ultimately, every human's soul or mind, above money, above achievements, above goals, is one thing everybody looks for, and that is happiness, peace of mind, genuine connections. So make sure that in this journey, you're doing all this. You're being happy along the way. You're making those genuine connections. You're doing things that give you happiness, peace of mind. And you're not completely consumed by ambition or overachievement or performance. And otherwise, you'll have a very imbalanced personality,
Yeah.
which will always keep you unhappy and sad and, you know, not very happy about yourself.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And
yeah.
that's not a very good
important
thing.
point that you raised.
Yeah.
And
I keep reminding my husband
Yeah?
of
This thing?
Yeah, he's always like, I'm not doing enough. And he's such a great businessman. And I
Yeah.
keep telling him, you know what? You need to, it's not about achievements. It's about your ability to find happiness. And like I said, the ability to pat yourself on the back for every small step you're taking. That will keep you a happy person.
Yeah, I personally feel like this was a therapy session more than the interview.
Yes,
So
I'm
thank
glad.
you so much, like, for sharing this openly, not charging us as you charge your clients who come to you for consulting.
Let me tell
on
you,
the same
it's
questions I asked you.
nominal. People tell me you're mad, Urvashi. You need to charge much more. And I say, you know what? I'm not in this for the money. I'm
Yeah.
doing it. So many times I just do things for free, and everybody's getting wild at me. But what
No,
can
we
I
need
say?
more people like you
I'm
also to
just-
balance out. There are many people who just do it for money, but very few who do it for the purpose. So you're
Thank
one
you.
of the few people. So I'm glad that you're doing it that way.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you so much for being on the show, giving your time, and like seriously loved listening to it.
I'm glad. I'm glad, and that gives me confidence that I'm doing the right thing, and hopefully I'll be able to make a difference that
Yeah,
I have set out
we're
to
sure
make.
you'll do.
And I need your help along the way.
Yeah,
so be with me
yeah.
then.
Very excited to work alongside you.
Thank you.